Welcome to the Implementing Effective Use of Technology Technical Assistance webinar. My name is Cheryl Wilson, and I am oversee computer science implementation at the Michigan Department of Education. And I also have some co-workers, Gina Lovelace and Ashley Aras. Gina is responsible for overseeing open education resources, and Ashley Aras is great to help out with the Nexus application technical questions. We do have an MDE EdTech webpage, and it has some information about the grant, and I'll go over more of that information as we go along. And then if you have any questions, please be sure to email us at mde-edtech@michigan.gov. So the agenda, we're going to go ahead and talk about the grant program goals, eligible applicants, non-public schools consultation, a grant overview, key dates, and then also do a brief Nexus application demonstration, and then show you where you can find some answers to some frequently asked questions. And so let me just move this real quick here. The grant program goals is to support districts with implementing open educational resources while documenting that process to share with districts in Michigan, and, or it could be, or implementing computer science while documenting this process to share with districts in Michigan. It is also to advance the use and or implementation of OER and computer science materials to benefit student learning. Eligible applicants are intermediate school districts or ISDs, local education agencies or LEAs, and public school academies or PSAs. Non-public schools, through ESSA, it requires that LEAs provide equitable services and need to ensure that if there are private schools within the boundary of the local education agency, that private schools are consulted as part of the title process. You can see the Michigan Department of Education's equitable services for private schools website if you need more details on that. And we're suggesting that a non-public school might participate in the process. For example, like if your school district is going to offer professional learning, you could also offer that to those non-public educators as well. So a grant overview, explore the use and adoption of OER, open education resources, or create a computer science education pathway, or it could be both. One of the things we're sharing with the grant this year is to make sure there are two parts to it. There is the OER portion of it, where you could apply for OER funds, or you could apply for the computer science funds. You could also apply for both, but we're really cautioning districts to make sure you have capacity if you do want to apply for both sections of this. So implementation levels and corresponding funding amounts. So when you go into the application, you're going to have to make some choices as far as your implementation level. So for OER, you're going to select one. It could be that your district has been implementing OER less than 1 year. That's an option. Between 1 and 3 years, and 3 years plus of implementation. And if that is your district, then you are eligible for $7,000 for in-district work. And we'll talk a little bit more about eligible activities. And then also you would be receiving $7,500 for travel. The idea is to go out somewhere in the country, take a team of teachers and some administrators and see what's happening with some other districts around OER and what could be possibilities for your district. If you were a previous OER awardee at any level with an updated plan, that amount does reduce down to $7,000. We're taking away the travel portion of that. And you would still have money to work with, like some in-district workshops for stipends. And that would be for OER. If you're looking for the computer science implementation levels, you would select one of these. You could be novice. You don't have much OER going on. Sorry, you don't have much CS going on, computer science. Probably little pockets here and there, but maybe a club, a few classes here and there. Just nothing has been developed beyond a few little parts. Emerging, you do have some CS. We might have it like at the high school level, maybe a class at the middle school, little pockets at the elementary, if there is any, maybe a club or two. So both of those would be eligible for $20,000 to apply for. There is also, districts could be developing, like you have kind of a CS plan, but it's got some gaps in there, like maybe it's not been implemented through all the levels. Or if you were received prior CS funding, quite often a lot of the districts that did script last year that were part of the grant would be developing and receive prior CS funding. If you did not receive prior CS funding, but you're still developing, you can put that down. And then there's highly developed, and then highly developed receiving prior CS funding. Again, with these levels, this would be eligible for $10,000. Please let us know if there's questions on this. Please feel free to reach out. So some sample grant activities for OER or a computer science conference like McCall. I know there's some OER summits. There's CS for Michigan. And other opportunities out there. Also, maybe possible implementation of integrated computer science using robots in elementary classrooms. There's in-district work or meetings around OER or CS implementation. Possibly professional development, such as the Michigan virtual course. Let's say you wanted some folks in your district to take that, but you wanted to offer some funds like stipends for their time to take that course. And also memberships related to some CS organizations such as CSTA or the Civil Air Patrol. Some key dates. The application went live on October 10th, 2022 at 7 a.m. Applications are going to be due in Nexus on November 2nd, 2022 at 12 p.m. or noon. We will most likely have awardees determined by December 1st. We have moved back the due date, so we might have to move back that December 1st deadline, but we're going to work really hard to try to have that ready. The award period would be October 1st, 2022 through September 30, 2023. There is some instructions, and I'm going to go ahead and pull open those instructions and just show you real quick here. The instructions will guide you through. There's some screenshots on it. I am going to kind of follow this through and do show you that when you're inside Nexus, what some of this looks like. So there will be on these Nexus instructions, access to the recording. There is some documentation with MDE on Nexus. So if you have questions about Nexus itself, we are not experts on Nexus. And so we will guide you to this Nexus documentation provided by MDE. One thing to note, the application must be initiated by a level 5 at the district. And you would log into Nexus via the my login for third party. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let's see here, pull open my login here and go ahead and I'm going to show this to you. Sorry about this, but getting it all ready here. All right. So you would log in to the third party. All right, sorry about that. I had to fix something. So you get into the Nexus system. All right, so what you're going to do is you are going to look through the My Opportunities. And you're going to look for implementing effective use of technology. And you're going to see that as a option in the My Opportunities. Go ahead and click that open. And you would go ahead and proceed. This is going to open it up to the document overview. And then from the right menu, you're going to go ahead and click on the cover page. And then you're going to need to make sure on this that you have your contacts put in here. And so a lot of times with your district, you can just go ahead, they should already be loaded in there. If you do not, if you need to change some of this, again, you're going to want to refer back to that Nexus documentation. There is some information about changing those contacts in there. And then once you do some changes, you're going to want to click on Save. Always make sure you're clicking on the Save. Saves your progress in there. And then you're going to go ahead and click on assurances and certifications. And just one reminder, you do need to have level 5 person initiating the application. Someone else of another level can work on it. There are some permissions based on the level that you have, but level 5 needs to be the one to initiate the application. So then we're going to move on to assurances and certifications. You will see more in here. This was a test case one, so be sure that you read those assurances. And if it says next form down here, you're going to want to click on next form. I think mine doesn't show it because I'm in a test case. All right, then important information. Again, this is our test case here. You would see this is actually the grant overview. So do make sure you go through that and know some of the important points of that. And then normally you would click through next form. And then you're going to review your grant app. So review grant selections. You do need to click on apply now. That will open up some of the drop downs over here on the left side. If you do not click apply now, you will be limited on those drop down options. Please make sure you click on save. And then you would do next form. The next part is the non-public schools participation assurance. Again, you have to go ahead and make one of the selections, save it, and then you would do next form. For the competition selection, If you want to do, you can select either computer science or open educational resources. You can select both, but as we said before, you want to be cautioned in applying for both. You need to make sure your district truly has the capacity, almost like two separate work teams, to be able to work on these separate grants. So be mindful and thoughtful of that. I'm going to go ahead and just select computer science. And then this is where you would select one of those levels. Are you novice, emerging, developing, or highly developed? Those will put you in the category of $20,000. If you have received prior CS funding, you would either be developing with the prior CS funding, or you'd be highly developed. I'm going to go ahead and just do emerging on this. And then OER, similar, you would go ahead, you would check the box here. And then let's say you had received the grant, you were an awardee last year, you need to go ahead and put that you received funding from that prior year. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Again, we caution you to do both, but I'm just showing you the example of adding that information in there. And go ahead and click save. Once you do these selections, it's going to open up some more of your, like the project plan boxes that you need to fill out. So you're going to go ahead and click on next form. And I'm going to go ahead, click on computer science. This is the work that you're aligning your work with. And most likely it would probably be, if you did computer science standards. It might also additionally be potentially the MyTex. We're looking for at least one that you're aligning it with. It could be more. If you're doing like CTE standards, you would do this. And then in the box here, like maybe you would say cybersecurity would be the, what you're focusing in on. So again, click on save. And then you would do, if you are doing OER, again, very similar. Let's say you were focusing in on language arts standards. To do OER, just simply make that selection, click on save. And then you're going to get into the part where you have the plans. And so this is the really important part. We do suggest that maybe you want to do some of this work in a separate document, either in Word or in Google, because you're going to want to check your word counts. This has up to 3,000. Now it's characters, not words, but characters. So please make sure that you're mindful of that. You're going to go ahead and add in some of your information here. There is the narrative of the work. So your statement of need, your steps taken to prepare. So what has your district done so far? What capacity do you have to have successful implementation? What about sustainability? Describe how this work will be sustained without future funding from grants. And then what are your underrepresented groups? And through the grant overview, you're going to realize that these are some important sections that we want you to think through. If you applied last year and received some funding, please make sure you do update these portions to take in mind what work you've done and where you're now heading. What you're going to notice is I did not fill these in. And when I click on save, it should give me some errors. So you want to make sure if you do get those errors that you're missing something and that you do want to fill it in. Also note that it does mark it with like an exclamation point. Any of these over here that have an exclamation point, there's something missing, and you're going to need to finish that before you can actually submit. So please be thoughtful, spend a good chunk of time preparing this and being thoughtful with your what you're saying. Also, if you do the work in a separate document and you want to copy and paste it in here, please make sure all of your characters got in here. You don't want to have so much missing in case you didn't do a character count check. So you're going to want to do the computer science project plan if you're applying for computer science. If you're applying for OER, you would want to do that portion of it. If you did not select one of them, like if you did not select OER, you would not even see this portion. But if you did select both, please make sure that you fill out both portions of this. Next, we're going to move into the budget. One of the things you're going to need to do is, if you go to budget summary, at the bottom of budget summary, you do need to make sure that you have a business office representative and a project contact person. So make sure you have that in there. And and then also, normally this would not be the same person. I'm just simply filling out the information. This is very important though, like when we need to contact somebody with questions or something, especially for the project contact person, this person should be aware of the project, kind of maybe overseeing, overseeing the group, how it's going to function. Because quite often we may have questions like, what did you mean by this? So make sure that information is in there. Again, click on save. And the next form. And so this is where your budget is going to come in at. One of the things we're not sure if there's a glitch still for the indirect costs when we look at this page. Whatever amount you get there first, the first time will be the indirect amount cost. We've had a problem that as we add amounts here, and then you have indirect cost, it is increasing that indirect cost because it's using the wrong total. So just be mindful of that, kind of take a note of what that original indirect cost is, and that will be the one that you should be using. So you're going to want to move down to a budget item. And then this is based on which your function codes. We do in the Nexus instructions have a document on function codes if you're not familiar with those. And let us know, please reach out if you do have questions on function codes. So with OER, you may want to do some travel. And I'm going to probably miss the mark on what Gina's function code is to, let's see here. Like staff personnel services. I'm just guessing that this may be, I'm going to just go ahead and do computer science because I will talk about that later on. Let's say we're doing some work at the elementary level for computer science. Please make sure you select the correct function code and then computer science, like I had selected novice emerging. Even if you do apply for only one portion like computer science, you will still need to do the drop down on that. And then here, please be as detailed as possible, and telling us what you'd like to do. If you're purchasing some equipment, like let's say you want to get some dashes. So purchasing dash and dots for elementary students. It would be nice if you told us purchasing, 20 dash and 10 dots for elementary students. The more information you can give us and give us that idea that backs up what you did in your project plan, it does help us out. And then we'll have less questions. If we do have questions, we'll reach back out to you. But basically, like supplies and materials, we could go ahead and do the math on that. I'm not exactly sure how much those cost. I'm just going to go ahead and estimate that, let's just say it was $4,000. And you'll want to fill that out. If you have any If you're doing any like stipends, I know that you will probably need to do salaries and benefits and probably your FTEs and your hours. We probably are not great at answering some of those questions, but do your best if you do have questions on some of that. Please make sure you save what you have in there. And then if you want to add a new budget item, and let's say you were working on computer science again, but you want to do something for the middle and junior high, again, select that. And then again, give us some details on that. And let's say this was actually, we're going to purchase something different for the middle school and the high school and 5,000. And so save that. You're going to go back to your budget summary here. And then this will show you your total amount. And again, this is where we said like your first time, kind of note that $895, that's going to be your indirect cost. It's starting to show the additions from those different budget items. Make sure that your amount stays within the confines of the grant that you're applying for and the amounts, based on what your implementation level was. You can also go in through budget detail and you can search for some different, see the different portions that you have in there. If you did have some flagged items, let's see here. We would note those in the flagged items, like if we're reviewing it and we have some flagged items, you would find those in the flagged items section. There are some built-in tools, and if you need more help on some of that, please go to that Nexus documentation information that we had shared earlier. And then this is a good idea to go back and check and make sure that you have, like you want to make sure all these boxes are checked. Once you've gone through the application, you've done the project plan, you've done your budget, you've looked through and you've checked everything else off. Make sure that you do not have those errors right there. And then you would want to go ahead and submit your application. If something is not done, you're going to have an error. Like I think in this case, we're going to probably definitely have an, let's see here. Show forms that I cannot adjust. So, and it is telling me I have some errors. And so, you would need to go back and you need to modify that and correct it before you could actually submit. And then basically when you're done, it should show, if we go all the way back up to the top, back up to, I think this, it would show if you did everything properly, you would have applications submitted here. When we do our reviews, the reviews will show up. If we do have some modifications that we need you to do, it'll show up there, and it would go through the process. Like I said, we're hoping by December 1st to have districts informed. I can't guarantee that date, but if you were one of the districts to receive funds, then you would have grant funds available. Remember, November 2nd is the deadline for the grants in Nexus at noon. And so that's kind of walking you through the application process. We also have a frequently asked questions document, which we've had a few questions, and we're going to continue to try to document these on here. And let's see here. Yeah, so basically you can look through those. This was the one thing about funding for the travel codes. So if you're applying for OER and you have not received prior funds, These would be some of those information about the travel funds on there. So if you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us via email, mde-edtech@michigan.gov. We thank you for considering the application to this either OER or computer science grant. And we look forward to reviewing applications and awarding some more funds to some districts in Michigan. Thank you again, and have a good rest of your day.